Good morning and thanks so much for joining in. You're watching NDTV Profit. This is Ask Profit. My name is Mathew and with me is Smriti Chaudhary. Like the name suggests, this show is geared towards getting all of your questions on stocks answered, whether they're short-term technical related questions or long-term fundamental questions. You can send all of them to us on any one of our social media platforms or indeed on the number that is on your screen right now. Let's first take a look at where the markets are right now, and it's a break in the selling. It's in fact the second day of gains for the benchmark indices as well as the broader markets. Currently, the Nifty 50 trading with gains of about 0.3%, 0.3%, and you have the broader markets that are doing better. In fact, you have the mid-cap index that's up at very close to the high point of the day, up about 0.8%, and you have the small cap index that's up about 0.7% or thereabouts. Among the key contributors, and in fact, let's look at the sectors that are moving in trade. You have the realty index right at the top. Okay, so let's talk about the key contributors on the benchmark index first. Bharti Airtel at the top of the list, contributing quite a bit of the gains for the benchmark. And you have ITC, HCL Tech that are doing particularly well. HCL Tech, remember, still to report its numbers. It'll come later in the month. 29th, I believe, is the date when it will report its Q4 numbers. Reliance Industries is proving to be a bit of a drag in trade today. It's down. And in fact, the worst performer on the Nifty 50 in terms of contribution, at least. Sun Pharma as well as HDFC Bank also lagging. HDFC Bank, remember, was a laggard in trade yesterday as well, losing over 1%. Let's talk about one stock that is outperforming though, and that is Tejas Network. It is up as much as 20% in trade today, and it was up as much as 16% or thereabouts in trade yesterday, and this is on the back of Q4 numbers. And in fact, let's talk about this a little more. This is something that is significant because it's a return to the black for Tejas Network. Yes,
definitely. And we saw some stellar numbers in case of Tejas. And first, let's break down those numbers. And to do that, we have Rucha joining in to tell us what worked for the company this time.
Rucha, over to you.
Yeah. So there was a beat on revenue and margins as reported by Tejas. However, this beat was led by the BSNL 4G deal. Now the revenue grew 4 times to 1,300 crore, while the margins were at 23% versus an estimate of 7.5%. The net profit was estimated to be at a loss of 12 crore. However, the company reported a profit of 147 crore during the quarter. Now, this growth was led by the wireless segment, largely coming from India, while the order book was at 8,300 crore, 95% of which also came from India. Now, what the management mentioned in the conference call is that beyond the overall market growth, it is also looking at several high-scale opportunities in both Indian and international markets. So, the stock was up 40% in last 5 days and 70% in last 1 year.
Thanks so much, Rucha, for laying that out for us. In fact, that's a perfect moment or opportunity for us to go to our experts. And we've got Avinash Goraskshakar, who is Director Research at Profitmart Securities, as well as Swati Hotkar, who's Senior Equity Technical Analyst Research at Nirmal. Thank you so much to the both of you for taking the time. Very good morning to both of you. Avinash, I'll come to you in this one. Tejas Network, surprise results. And of course, the stock is doing incredibly well. The question is, if you are holding, what should your approach be? And if you're looking from the sidelines and thinking, why didn't I get in earlier? What should the reaction be?
So I think, good afternoon, Alex. I think, first of all, numbers have been much better than the street expectations. I think top line is almost 4 times higher, and the company has come back in the black as compared to a net loss in quarter 4 of last year. And I think this traction is going to continue because, looking at the kind of action in the 5G network business, Tejas is one of the key players which actually manufactures 5G network hardware equipment. And I think they are sitting on a very healthy order book. Plus the fact that now Tejas Networks is part of the Tata Group, that also has given a lot of confidence to the markets. But one point which I want to note, Alex, is that I was looking at their year-end numbers. the company still generates a negative operating cash flow. So I think, this is something which over a period of time, I think markets would expect that this becomes positive because, without operating cash flow, profits have actually got no value. So I think going forward, at least in the next 6 to 12 months, hopefully this operating cash flow becomes positive and then we could see a further round of re-rating here.
Okay, so would you buy at this juncture, Avinash, or would you wait for that metric to change?
So I would prefer to wait because, Alex, something which has gone up by 70% in a month and 40% in the last 5 days. This is a market where I think I would wait for opportunities, and I think markets are going to be extremely volatile. Last couple of days, markets have gone up, but I think there are going to be a lot of headwinds going forward, especially from the election schedule, from the global market. So I think it's better to wait and watch. One could definitely get an opportunity to buy the stock at slightly lower levels. I think the results have just come in a couple of days back, so the excitement is high. But I think one could definitely wait for some time, and obviously on weakness, one could definitely get a better risk reward. That's the logic from my side.
Right, fair point. Just adding on to this, we had Ashwini Agarwal in the morning at the Talking Point show, and he talked about Tejas, and he made a very interesting point. He said that now the Tejas already had a technological backbone, a very strong backbone of technology that they held. However, with Tata coming in and taking over Tejas, they've now given them the scalability or that sort of ability to scale their business, and that we're seeing in the numbers that have come out this time. But let's start off with the questions now. The first one is on the counter DMart. This one's from Sameer from Kolkata. Good morning, Swati. The question here is that they already have DMart. Now they haven't mentioned the buy. Okay, they have 4,055 is the buy price for this specific counter. It's above that, trading around 4,800. Should you book some profits at this juncture?
Yeah, good morning, both of you and all the panelists. The DMart technically looks very positive on the weekly chart as such, and the stock is forming the flat pattern. It's on the verge of giving the breakout of the same. The volumes are really doing very well along with the price momentum. I will suggest to hold on since the buying price is coming at the lower levels. Upside, the breakout comes to at around 48.50 levels on the closing basis. Today we got a high of 48.90, but somehow it doesn't manage to sustain above the same levels. But once it manages to give a positive closing above that level, I believe this rally is likely to be extended towards to 5,100 to 5,300 on the higher side. So yeah, I will suggest to hold on this particular counter as long as it sustains above 46.50 levels on the downside. So he can keep a profit stop loss, and hold the long positions for immediate target of 5,200 to 5,400 levels on the high side.
Okay. All right. Just to clarify, 4,650 is a stop loss?
Correct.
Okay, fine. All right. Chitranjan Patra has got the next question. HAL is a counter that he's looking at. That's Hindustan Aeronautics. And he's looking at buying the stock and adding to what he already holds. He's bought at levels of 3,010. Avinash, what's the view on this particular counter?
I think Alex is a great kind of opportunity in the defense space, and I think already the company is sitting on an order book almost 55 to 60,000 crores. See, I think if the investor buys the stock at this level, already he has shares at around 3,000 odd rupees. I think he needs to take at least a 2-year view, and I think the risk reward in the next 2 years could be quite significant, because this is one company which has got global scalability potential. The Tejas aircraft which has been made, I think is going to now get scaled up in coming quarter. Next, possibly see a very strong risk reward happening here over the next 2 years. So I think if he has a time frame which is long term, he can definitely buy on dips and add to his portfolio.
All right. Next counter we're talking about is Aditya Birla Money. Now this one's from Ravindra Babu from Tirupati. They say they've already bought the stock. The buying price is not known here, but it's logged at upper circuit post its results, stellar results in Aditya Birla Money. Swati, I'm going to come to you on this. This is from a mid-term perspective. The time horizon is probably less than a year here. So what would your suggestion be? Should you suggest holding on to this or book profits right now?
I would suggest to hold on this particular counter as of now. It's trading at 128 to 129 levels. Means downside, it has a very good support at around 120. So as long as it sustains above that level, the move will remain a positive. On higher side, we can see the breakout if the stock manages to give a breakout of 135 levels. Any more above that level, we expect a positive momentum to be carried forward to at least 145 to 150. So you can hold the long positions as long as it holds the 120 levels on the downside.
Okay. I want to come back to you on a stock that has done particularly well in the recent few weeks, Swati, and that's Mazagon Docks Shipbuilders. And we've got a question from Geeta. She's asking about this, and the stock is up as much as 4.7% today. In fact, if we can pull up the nearer term time charts and see how the stock has done in the recent past, take a look at that. Close to 20% over the last 1 month itself. Swati, the question is from Geeta, and she's asking whether it can be still a good buy at these levels for the long term.
Yes, definitely, Alex. This particular order is also really doing very well. On the monthly, you have rightly pointed out that it has given the return of almost more than 21%. And if you look towards the larger degree chart, say the weekly or the monthly, the line chart is forming the cup and handle formation, and it's on the verge of giving the breakout on the higher side. The breakout comes at around 2300 levels, and I believe looking towards the technical setups, the chart is also forming the upward rising channel. So we can definitely go for a long position at the current market price as well, or any tips towards to at least 2100 or between 2000 levels we can add on. For a longer term horizon, I'm looking for target of 2600 to 2800 levels. So definitely can add on this portfolio.
All right. The next counter, Swati, is Mostrip Technologies. Now, the question here is, what's the long-term and short-term outlook on this one? You look at the 1 year chart, and it's given gains of over about 148%. 1 month, 66% up. What kind of upside do you see from a shorter term and even a longer term perspective based on the charts?
Yes, this particular counter is also really doing very well on the technical front. But if you look at it on the larger degree as such, yes, definitely it's a buy call on this particular this chip. But I believe as long as it doesn't give the breakout of a 160 level, the momentum will get restricted. And once it manages to give it the breakout of, then smooth or swift rally, we can see up to at least 180 levels. So as of now, the downside, we can see that 145 is acting as a very crucial cluster support zone. So as long as it hold that level, one can definitely hold their long positions by maintaining a stop loss of 145. Immediate target will be a 180 to 190 on the high side, we can see.
Very close. Can you explain, Swati, why you keeping the stop loss so close to the current current market price?
Because this particular counter has already given the rally and the market is sitting at nearby its all-time high level, we can witness a profit booking at any point of period of time. The mid-caps has already shown its rally on its way. So I believe that the profit booking can be seen at any point of time, and one should at least book their profits or at least cap their profits and should not face any kind of a losses. That's why I'm giving a strict stop losses in such kind of a market.
Fair point. I'm glad that you spelled that out. Avinash, as well as Swati, we have to slip into a very quick break. Viewers will be back on the other side to take more of your questions. So do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit on NDTV Profit, and the next question we will take is from Varun, and he's asking about Vodafone Idea. The question is whether he can buy at the current market price, which is very close to the 14 level. In fact, it has breached that 14 level in trade today, up nearly 9% or more than 9%. And you would probably have followed Smriti's updates over the last few days, particularly yesterday, when the results of the FPO, or at least the buying of the FPO, came to be known towards the end of the day yesterday. It was oversubscribed, but the retail portion was subscribed about 0.92 times. So most of the attention or the interest came from the institutional buyers. Avinash, the question is, a lot of people are putting a lot of confidence in Vodafone Idea on the back of this fundraise. Is it something that you should consider investing in right now with the anticipation that ARPUs will go up, business will improve, or is it an avoid from your perspective?
I think it depends on, Alex, what exactly is the time frame, because people who are expecting the stock to go up when the FPO gets listed and expect some listing gains, I think that seems to be a little difficult. But I think if one look at the next 2 years.
Okay, I think we're having some serious trouble with Avinash's feed. I'm going to try and get that fixed, but in the meanwhile, let's very quickly go across to Swati just to get a sense of what she thinks about Vodafone Idea. We've seen quite a bit of volatility, chop and churn in the prices on account of the fundraise announcement and everything that has happened in the interim. But Swati, from a technical perspective, should it be bought at this point?
Yes, Alex, we have to see it on a larger degree, the charts. And from the start of the 2023, we have seen that the stock has made a low up at around 5.7 rupees. And from there onwards, we have seen the rise towards 218. If we draw the retracement of that particular rally, the stock has already retraced 50%, which comes to around 12 levels. So now 12 level is acting as a very strong support levels, and which is also nearby its golden ratio. Whenever we calculate the retracement, golden ratio, we calculate up to 61.8 has been considered as a golden ratio. So 12 rupees is acting as a very strong support level in this particular counter. From the last 2 months, it has just raised that level, and again we are witnessing a bounce back rally. So those who don't want to miss the rally on the high side, they can buy at least 20 to 30% at the current market price. But if the stocks comes down to any momentum or dips towards to 12 rupees, definitely one can go for a long positions by keeping a strict stop loss of 10 rupees. And I'm looking forward for an immediate target again back towards 218 and above that level. 24 levels can be seen very soon. So for a longer term horizon, definitely it's a buy.
All right. Now we have another question, and this one's from Neeraj from Hyderabad. This one on the counter no sell. Now it's they bought 100 shares at a price of 249. If you can pull up the chart and see, okay, it's trading at around 262, slightly higher levels from there. Swati, what's the outlook on this one, and would you suggest holding on to this maybe in a short term versus a long term time horizon?
Yes, Smriti, on the long-term horizon, definitely it's a buy call, but it's trading in a very slow momentum counter as such. If we look towards the last 6 months data, the stock has got stuck within the range of a 240 to 260 levels. It's not able to give the breakout of a 260, 265 levels on the closing basis. We need the breakout on the closing basis, and only we can say that this particular chart stock will come down to the next level on the high side, at least 280 to 300 levels. But at the current market price, the stock is in the formation of the inverse head and shoulder on the line charts. It's just forming the right shoulder. So it will take little bit time, and upside the target means breakout comes to at around 270 levels if we consider the inverse head and shoulder formations. So any move above 270, we will attract some kind of a buying on the technical front, and stock may continue this rally at least towards 280 to 300 levels. So one can definitely hold for a long positions. But as I said, I will give a stop loss at around 255 levels. So you can hold the counter with a stop loss of 255, for immediate target will be 280, then 300 levels.
I just want to point out to our viewers that we're having a little bit of trouble with the feed with Avinash. We're going to try and get him on the phone line to get him to answer a few of your questions. In the meanwhile, let me go across to Swati for the next one, which is from Parth, and he's asking about Z Entertainment. Swati, he has bought at levels of 225. and he's got 176 shares, so slightly elevated, and he's wondering whether to exit and what his exit strategy should be.
As of now, we are witnessing, we are witnessing some selling pressure in this particular counter, and it's already trading near the oversold zone. So we might not see more selling pressure in this particular stock, but definitely we will see some turnaround once the stock manages to find out the good support between the 140 to 135 levels. So the depth is limited on the downside, so I will not suggest to exit the long positions. But since you have held it for so long, I will suggest to hold this particular counter for some more period. I believe that once it manages to give the formation nearby 135 levels, we will see some turnaround towards to 160 to 180 levels. So it's a hold from my end. I will not suggest any stop loss at the current market price. But definitely if you want to average it out, 135, 130 levels will act as a very crucial level to take your average positions for a target of 170 to 180.
All right. The next counter we're talking about is Federal Bank. This one's from Vinod from Chennai, and they say they've bought the stock at a price of 147. It's slightly above that, trading close to 154 a piece. The question is, should they continue holding on to it for a period of 1 year, Swati, or should they switch to something like a Karnataka Bank or even an HDFC Bank?
Yeah, as of now, HDFC Bank and those stocks, private bank has already given a rally. Now it will be a time for the PSU banks. So I will suggest to keep the Federal Bank because this particular stock has not given a much rally on the high side compared to the another stocks as such, because the whole 2023 year we have seen that the stock was trading within the range of 30 to 40 points only. So in future, if whenever the bank Nifty will show some more spark on a higher side, this particular counters will show their rally, or they will try to participate in those on higher side. I'm looking for a target of 170 to 180 in this particular stock, but it will be slow and steady momentum we will see. But yes, definitely one can hold there into the portfolio. Since it's a buying, it's coming at around 145, I will suggest to hold by maintaining a stop loss of a 135 levels on the downside for immediate target of 170 to 180 for a shorter term.
That's the view on Federal Bank. Avinash is back with us. Avinash, you were speaking about Vodafone Idea when we were rudely interrupted by the network. Let's talk about what you were saying.
My apologies, Alex.
No problem.
See, Alex, guys who want a short-term kind of listing gain on the FPO, I think any big upside is ruled out. But I think most of the negatives are in the price. And I think if the company can manage to increase its subscriber base, increase its ARPUs, then I think definitely, the risk reward could be significantly better. But I think keep a time frame of at least 12 to 15 months, because see, the money which has been raised now, Alex, is largely for the 5G rollout, expansion purpose. The debt on the books considers to be quite heavy. In fact, the debt is around 240,000 crores. So I think you're going to see a little more time before the company actually becomes profitable at the net profit level. So I think only for those investors who have got a slightly longer term view, you can hold on.
All right. The next counter, Avinash, is a trend that we're talking about. It's this one's from Dhruvaj, and they bought the shares at 1,037 levels. It's significantly higher from there, and even the prospects of trend look very, very positive. So from a longer term perspective, how are you viewing this stock, especially in terms of other similar counters like an Aditya Birla Fashion and other counters in that sort of space?
I think, first of all, the margin of safety is very high for the investor, considering that you have purchased the stock at a very low level. My sense is if they keep a 2-year kind of time span, then even a 50% upside, from the current level looks possible. The company has maintained a fairly good kind of asset turnover, decent profitability margins, and their inventory, turnover has also been pretty good as compared to the other players. So I think, having said that the retail story is a long-term story, I would definitely suggest them to hold on. I think if they don't require funds, it's better to hold. I think one could expect a decent risk reward over the next 12 months.
Okay. LIC of India is the next counter that we're talking about, and we've got Satya, who's bought at levels of 1,030. The stock is currently trading at below that at 984, but not too far away from the buying price. Swati, what's the view on the charts for, he hasn't specified a time period, but he's looking for a target.
Yes, LIC is really doing very well. 984 is the current market price. As of now, in the last 2 months, we are witnessing that the stock was under the correction mode, and now it's on the verge of giving the breakout of the falling trend line. So I believe upside, we are looking for a target of at least 1050 to 1090 levels on the high side. So one can definitely go for a long or hold the long positions by keeping a stop loss of a 960 on the downside.
All right. This one's, the next counter we're talking about is Bajaj Auto. Now, this one's from Kamath. And they say that they bought the stock in January of 2022 at a price of 3,500 from a dividend perspective as well, along with growth, of course. Now, they say the growth is fabulous. However, the dividend seems to be falling. Now, they wish to switch from this stock and need a recommendation, and the time horizon here is 3 years. For about, I mean, it's hard to put a number to growth in terms of 12 to 14% that they're asking. But from a perspective of growth and dividend, what other counters would you suggest apart from Bajaj, if you want to switch from Bajaj Auto?
Avinash, the question's for you.
Yeah,
Avinash,
I think
yeah.
my guess is, I think, dividend is not that important as compared to, the growth potential. I think Bajaj Auto has been a great, stock pick by the investor. They've already made a 3x kind of, upside. So I would say that, continue to hold this share, because we could see levels of even 10,000 over the next, say, 12 to 15 months. The company recently made a buyback. I think the two-wheeler market has taken off pretty well. So I think rather than looking at only the dividend option, I think look at the growth opportunity. The two-wheeler segment, according to me, is going to do exceedingly well in FY25, and Bajaj Auto would be a big beneficiary. So I think, if you want to play purely on the dividend yield factor, then there are stocks like PFC, REC, or typically even a NTPC, where possibly, the growth is moderated, but the dividend yield is much higher.
I mean, that used to be the case, particularly over the last year, but Avinash, they've surprised on the upside. Perhaps that surprise may not happen going forward. So I take your point entirely. Thank you so much for joining in, Avinash, as well as Swati. Always a pleasure having you on the show. And viewers, we've tried to answer as many questions as we possibly could. Hopefully the conversations that we've had today have benefited you, even if your specific question was not taken. There's lots more coming up over the course of the day. It's a goodbye from Smriti and myself and the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching.
morning and welcome. You're watching, or rather good afternoon and welcome. You're watching Hot Money on NDTV Profit. I am Harsh Saita. And let's quickly take a check at where markets are at. We've slipped from the day's highs, around 0.25% higher on the Nifty 50. There's the chart. But we're seeing a bit of a recovery now after slipping up a little bit, wee bit through the day. What we're also seeing overall is the broader markets are doing fairly well. You're seeing the Nifty mid-cap up around 1% or thereabout. That one's at the day's high. The Nifty small cap as well doing fairly well. And the breadth of the market looking quite good. Let's pull up the advanced decline because that will reflect the breadth. Not bad at all after yesterday's gains of almost 1% on the Nifty. This is not a bad day of trade by any stretch. Let's look at some sectors which have meaning. The Nifty Bank is not doing much in trade today, just about up around 0.1% or thereabouts. But look at the Nifty Realty, the consumption stocks, FMCG doing fairly well. Nifty Pharma is the only one sulking, but outside of that, IT, as well as the PSU stocks, all of which are doing fairly well, 0.5% higher on those. But Nifty Realty is the one which we really need to focus on. Pretty much all constituents in the green. If we can pull up the constituents there, pretty much all of them are sitting in the green. So very pretty where the Nifty Realty is concerned. Some specific stocks where there seems to be good action. You look at within the Nifty Realty, you look at Sobha, Macrotech, Oberoi Realty, all of which are up 3+%, including a DLF. But on the back of specific news as well as results, let's pull up something like a Hudson Agro. It's up 11%. Tejas Networks is up almost 20% in trade now. You're looking at a Reliance, which isn't doing fairly badly in trade, but down around 0.5%. Definitely not the best day for the large cap. It's obviously a index moving stock, Reliance Industries, and after a decent set of numbers, down around 0.5%. We saw that kind of trend even coming in from something like an HDFC Bank yesterday, despite delivering a decent set, not doing too badly. I also want to try and flag off some of the other counters which are doing well, and Indus Towers is doing fairly well in trade today. And you also have the likes of a Honasa. It's up 8+% on the back of a positive brokerage note. Some stocks which we will focus on in trade today, something like Tejas Networks, Hudson Agro. We spoke with the management there. Honasa is doing very, very well, and we'll try to delve into reasons why. And something like a Piccadilly Agro, that one too on the back of its numbers is doing decently well in trade. So you're seeing across the board some good traction in some of these counters that we are seeing. And we'll talk about some of them through the show today. We have with us Lancelot Kunha of ValueX Wealth Connect. It's a pleasure having you here, Lancelot. Sir, I want to first up try and understand how you're viewing markets as a whole at the moment. We saw a bit of a correction last week. We're seeing a recovery now. What's the sense? Can this recovery now sustain and take us to higher levels?
I think the momentum at the moment is on the upside. There is, it's of course being tempered by the geopolitical situation playing out in the Middle East, as well as, interest rates in the US and bond yields in the US, which may impact the US economy. So what we are now getting news is that there may be some kind of a peace initiative which will unfold in the next, 3, 4, maybe 2, 3 months. And if that happens, then there could be a moment. Sentimentally, the market would move higher based on the fact that peace is coming in. Second thing that is actually driving markets is the fact that we have already seen our elections in India underway, and by June 2nd we should have the results, which everyone's expecting a very positive government for the markets as such. So given that background, I think you are seeing a trend of the market or the momentum or the sentiment remain relatively positive. and on the back of whatever results have already come out, have been reasonably good.